How's it going, Canucks fans? David here, and today we have a very special guest, the founder of the Good-Looking Canucks Positivity Club, a pioneer of Canucks YouTube with over 4,000 subscribers, a strong voice on Canucks Twitter, and finally, someone who inspires me when I make my videos. Thank you so much for joining me. How's it going, Clay Emo?
I'm great, Dave. Thanks for having me, man. It's amazing to see that you have this Vancouver Canucks shrine set up in halfway across the country. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm a huge Canucks fan, and it's not easy being a Canucks fan out here, but thanks. Super cool to have you on. As I was telling you before we started recording, I've always been, I love the stuff you do, so thank you very much for coming on.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think you got a really, really cool topic, so I'm looking forward to delving into it with you, man. The pleasure's mine, truly.
Yeah, so in today's video, we're going to be grading the Canucks' top 6 forwards, their top 4 defensemen, and top 2 goalies. Now, I know the season didn't finish with this this top 6 in particular. Like, Toffoli was in there instead of Bertanen. Besser was injured for the second part of the year. But for overall most of the season, this was their top 6. These were their top 4 defensemen, and these were their 2 goalies. So this is who we're going to be grading. The way we're going to do this is we're going to give them a letter grade. For the first player, I'm going to go first, then Clay will go, and then Clay will go for the next player, then I'll go, and so on. And then at the end of this, we're going to have an overall average for how the Canucks main players played this season. So are you ready? Let's get into this.
Yeah, let's go. It's good.
Yeah. Here we go. JT Miller. Last year he had a points per game of 0.63. This year, 1.04. I gave him an A+. I think he did it all for the Canucks. So something that I should also add, the way I graded it, I took into account what their expectations were and then how important they were for the team. So clearly based on how he played last year, even though we gave up a first-round pick for him, he had pressure, but we certainly weren't expecting him to have more than a point per game to drive offense as much as he did. So I gave him an A+ just because he was so important.
Oh, you said that well, Dave. A+, obviously you can't get any better than that. So as you write that down, I will say I gave him an A. So not an A+, but I still gave JT Miller an A, which is obviously excellent. Exceeded all expectations after being traded here from Tampa. And he's a leader on the ice, off the ice, the way he breaks up plays in the neutral zone and the way he skates. He's hard on the puck. He's a wonderful passer. A lot of his assists come from the blue line, the goal line down, actually made everyone better, including Pettersson. So your A+ is fine, but I'm going to give him an A. All right, I guess we move to Tanner Pearson next on the list. And if this was the first half of the season, I think I would have given him a B+, but he slowed down a little bit for me, throughout the second half of the season. I'm still giving him a B, a solid B, because I thought B's very good. He was a perfect left winger for Bo Horvat. A lot of empty net goals. Travis Green trusts him both offensively and defensively. So I thought he was fine. I thought he met expectations, maybe exceeded a little bit. Great trade. So I'm giving him a B.
Yeah, that's really fair. I graded him actually an A-, and I'll tell you why I did this. I know the points per game jump up. He got a lot of empty net points, whether it was Horvat or for part of the season Eriksson putting in the empty netters. But Vancouver's been looking for a while for that solid winger for Bo. We kind of thought we had Besser a few years ago, but then he kind of turned into Petey's winger. And I think Pearson really provided that. Him and Bo were key shutdown guys throughout the season. And we definitely didn't expect him to have the year he had over all the, not 82 game season, but I think 69 game season. So I gave him an A- just because he was super important to the team. But okay. A B is definitely fair as well.
Yep, I accept that. A- to B, we're only basically 3 degrees off, right? Yeah, so it's good. It's good.
So now I got PD. I gave him an A just because he does it all for this team. He's so dynamic. And there were some question marks at the end of last year because he did slow down a bit. He was 5 points above a point per game by the All-Star break last year. And then he just finished 5 points below a point per game. He wasn't scoring as much. And this year he came out and he put all those questions to rest. He did super well. He just does what PD does. And we also saw his defensive side of the game develop as well. So I went A.
Awesome. And I went A-, so very close to you, Dave. I love that he did not suffer through a sophomore slump, as you mentioned. He improved on all aspects of his game. You know, believe it or not, Pettersson was overshadowed a little bit by JT Miller and Quinn Hughes, who we'll get to in a little bit. But yes, a great sophomore season, franchise centerman, the number one centerman we'll hopefully have for many, many years. I give him an A-, so we're very close on that one. Okay, Bo Horvat, our captain. I wavered between B+ and B, B+ and B. I had him set as a B, and then I looked up his face-off percentage of 57%, and that's huge. Actually, we should have mentioned JT Miller had a 59% face-off percentage, but Horvat at 57%. We know that he has the tough matchups. He's not going to score all the time. Sometimes he's chasing the best players around all game. I'm giving him a B+.
And that is, I think, I give him an A-.
Yep.
And the reason I did is because this is his first year as captain, and it's definitely difficult being captain in a market like Vancouver. And I think he took on like the roles and responsibilities really well. And he was a key shutdown guy for us. I know for the first half of the year, there was questions about like his defensive game slowing down, but overall he still had a slight improvement in points per game. He was huge for the team, and being captain, that obviously means he's super important. So I gave him an A-.
That's fair. So A- from you and a B+ from me.
Yeah.
Hey man, as I look at your grades, I would love to have a report card that had all your grades on it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've been pretty generous with the team, but I think they had a great year. There's a lot that they made serious strides from last season. So I think they deserve these good grades, especially their top 6 forwards who were a key part. Their offense was so good this year.
Absolutely. What do you got for Brock?
For Brock, I gave him a B+.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I went B+ is because he still had a decent year offensively. It wasn't the goal-scoring Brock that we were used to, but I still thought his defensive game took steps. And yeah, I also went B+ because when he wasn't on a line with Pettersson, his numbers definitely were not as good, which is normal. But and also in the second half of the year, he slowed down a bit as well. So the only reason why I have a guy like Horvat in the A- range and Brock in the B+ range is that Vancouver was still able to win and do well when Brock wasn't in the top 6.
Awesome.
So I have Brock at a B+.
And I have the exact same mark. I have a B+ for Brock as well. Everything that you said, yeah, he didn't have to score as many goals because he had JT Miller and Elias Pettersson doing that. One thing I do want to point out is I just looked it up. His shooting percentage was under 10%, whereas all the other forwards were shooting 12, 13, 15%. So that's an anomaly. We hope that goes up a little bit. Kind of speaks to what you talked about, maybe less goals than we were expecting, but still improved a lot defensively, and Travis Green did indeed trust him. I'm just sad that we only got one game of a top 6 of Pettersson, Miller, Besser, Horvat, Toffoli, and Pearson, but, other stuff happened. So, yeah, I'll give him a B+ as well. All right, Jake Virtanen, Shotgun Jake, I gave him a B. He started the year off to me as an A-, B+, scoring goals, getting people drunk, or I don't know if people get drunk after one beer. But then he did slow down a little bit as well. He still makes a defensive gaffe here and there, but he's improving. His hockey IQ is improving. He proved tough to play against, improving all the time, but not enough for me to launch into the A category. So I give him a solid B.
And I also gave him a B. Reason I gave him a B is, like you, we saw a good improvement. He was scoring goals, and I believe that if we had the full season, he would have finally hit that 20-goal mark that so often gets like questioned next to his name. So I think he had a great season. He really took strides, but similar to Brock, why I didn't put Brock any higher is just because Virtanen is not as important to the team as certain guys up here are. So yeah, I gave him a B. And
very quickly, I know we're going to go to the defenseman, but if Tyler Toffoli was on there, Dave, what would you have given him?
I would have gone A-. I thought he was really good. He was obviously put in a position to succeed next to Pettersson and Miller, but he still took the opportunity and ran with it. He also drove play like a lot, like fun to watch. I give A-. Yeah.
Yep, I'm with you.
Cool. So you went first for Virtanen?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so I got Quinn Hughes. I gave him an A+. The reason I went with A+ is because we weren't really too sure what to expect from Hughes. In the offseason, we heard a lot about how sometimes he might try to do too much. Although his 5-game stint last year was still very impressive, There's still some questions regarding how he would be defensively and if that offense part of his game would be able to translate over the course of a full season. And he was just awesome. He got better, even though a bit dry for the last 2 games. But overall, over the course of the season, I think he improved. And although points per game doesn't matter as much for a defenseman, a .78 points per game is pretty remarkable, especially at his age. So I went A+.
Good. I'll give him an A, as not an A+, but I give him an A. I thought he was had an outstanding rookie season. Obviously, neck and neck with Cale Makar all year to win the Calder Trophy. And I love how him and Ellis Pettersson together, the two of them, have basically single-handedly sped up the rebuild for the Canucks, given all Canucks fans hope. The only issue I have, and he's a rookie, so who am I to really judge or to point this out? But I did think maybe because of his size or maybe because of his inexperience, he would lose more puck battles than I'd like him to. But again, that's really nitpicking. That's really nitpicking, and that's the only reason why I didn't put the plus after the A. But no, obviously we are blessed to have Quinn Hughes on this team. Okay, Chris Tanev. He actually played all 69 games, ironically getting hurt in that final game. But, if the team comes back, he'll probably be playing. So durable, not so hot on the score sheet, but that's not his job. But I gave him a B. I'm going to guess that you gave him a B+, but that's just my guess.
You got it. You're a good guesser. Are you done with your explanation? You want me to get
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I gave him a B+ because we've never seen Tanev play that many games in what feels like forever. So he stayed durable, and he got helped out by Quinn Hughes a lot, especially for the first half of the year. We haven't seen Tanev go like that for a while. And he was solid. He was huge for the team. So although I think he improved a little, and overall importance to the team was there. So I gave him B+.
Okay, can't argue with that.
And then Alex Edler, I also gave him a B+. And the reason why I gave Edler a B+ is although he wasn't as important on the power play and got a little less minutes, he still is just a workhorse for this team. And when he is in the lineup, I think he's the team's second best defenseman after Quinn Hughes. And yeah, he just had a solid season overall. And although a little less points, he got 0 power play time for the second half of the year, and he still put up pretty good numbers. So I have Edler at a B+.
Yep, and I actually matched that B+ as well. So where I have Tanev as a B, I thought Edler had a slightly better season than Chris Tanev. So that's why I have Tanev at the B and Edler B+. But everything you said, you need that number 2 guy, even though they play on the same side behind Quinn Hughes. It's too bad not one of them didn't play on the right side. But yeah, he was absolutely solid, and signed that, relatively speaking, that pretty good contract for the team. It was a +12 or +13. So you know what you're getting in Edler. He's not the fastest guy, but he's smart. He likes to block shots, and he's a heart and soul guy just like Tanev. So I agree with your B+ there. Okay, Tyler Myers. I don't fret too much about his contract. I know a lot of people don't like it. If we're looking at expectations, he's played everywhere from the top pairing to a third pairing. I gave him. I was torn between a B and a B-. But I did end up giving him a B-, which is still, B is still in the good category. C+ is average. So he was about average for me, but I don't think he was as bad as a lot of people thought. I think his contract already was an albatross around his neck before he even showed up. So I gave him a B- because I thought he was solid, stood up for his teammates, mobile enough for a big guy. I think his defensive game broke down a little bit by the end of the year, but we can say that about a lot of guys. So I gave him a B-.
Yeah, I actually also gave him a B-. And I agree with you what you said about the contract. He wasn't exactly coming into the season where he had already won all the fans over. But he had a solid year. Even though he didn't technically play, especially at the end of the year with these 3 guys. So I still put him in the top 4 list anyways, though.
Yep.
Because he played those kind of minutes. But I gave him a B-, everything you said. Overall, solid season. Kind of just did what we expected based on what he did last year. So I went B- for Tyler Myers. So
good.
For the goalies?
Yep.
Okay, Markstrom, no surprise here. I gave him an A+. When he's, before he got injured, he was carrying this team on his back. I think he had 8 stolen wins for the season, which is a ridiculous number. He was just solid. Very few nights where, maybe I can't think of too many losses on the season where I was Mark, you should have had at least a few of those. He was just so reliable for the team, so I had no reason not to give him an A+.
Yes, and I award my one and only A+ also to Jacob Markstrom. Everything you said, Dave. And let's remember, he played through the death of his father. And as someone who's lost their father, that's crazy. Like anyone who loses a family member, but for him to play at such a high level through that time, although the Canucks gave him a bit of time off, which I'm glad they did. But yes, I agree with your A+ for sure. So that brings us to our backup, Thatcher Demko. I gave him a B. I wanted to give him a bit higher, but I did see some holes in his game. Now, granted, he's still young compared to Jacob Markstrom, and I've talked many times in my vlog about how the Canucks have really high hopes for him. They even talked about Luongo-type hopes for Thatcher Demko, and he might still get there, right? He's still a young goaltender. And it basically, for me, when he got his 7 games after Markstrom went down with his, at that time, very serious injury, he started off pretty poor, right? Remember the Ottawa game, that Toronto game where he let in a couple that maybe he shouldn't have. Then he picked up his game near the end of that, evened his record out at almost 500. So I give him a B, which is solid, I believe, for a backup goaltender.
Yeah, just before I give my grade, I was actually at the game in Montreal. First game on that stretch where they won in overtime. I've never screamed so loud at a game, but when Toffoli got the OT winner.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that Montreal game and that Colorado game in that stretch were probably his best. But you're right. Actually, I'll give my grade. I forgot to do that. I gave him a B, just like you. He had an opportunity to run with it at the end of the season. And although he was put in a difficult predicament, I don't think he played to probably what the fans' hopes were. After last season, we saw similar numbers to this, actually a bit better, and we were kind of hoping for a step up. And he did that at the start of the year, October, November. His numbers were solid. But that little run at the end of the season is ultimately what caused him to get a B. But I still have a lot of hope in Demko, and I think he's going to be a very good goalie still.
I agree with you.
So perfect. That's those are our grades for all the Canucks players on this list. But now, so something we did just before we started recording, we assigned every letter grade a number. So for example, an A+ is a 10 on 10, an A is a 9 on 10, an A- is an 8 on 10, and so on. So we calculated our average scores for the Canucks top 6 forwards, top 4D, and top 2 goalies. So like the main Canucks players. And so yeah, if you want, just briefly. So Clay's number was a 7.3 on 10. Do you want to?
Yeah. So 7.3, a 7 on our scale then is a B+, right? Because A+ is 10, A is 9, A- is 8, so B+ is 7. So yeah, I would basically, I think that's a fair number that I gave for the Canucks overall. Obviously, it was skewed in a good way by the big four, at least grades-wise, of Markstrom, Hughes, Miller, and Pettersson. So A+ is A's or A- that skews high. And then we have a couple guys bringing up the rear with the B- in this group. So for me, I think the Canucks overall met expectations. If you didn't consider them a playoff team, then they probably exceeded them by a little bit. And to me, that's a very good season, part of the 50th season celebration. Overall, a great year to be in the arena. So a 7.3, a B+ for me. That makes sense even when you do it individually or cumulatively. B+ sounds about right.
Yeah, so I got just a bit higher. I got 7.8 on 10. Probably the only reason for this is I was a little more generous giving out A+. But other than that, I agree with everything you said. And I think probably the reason why I was a bit more generous is because you talked about expectations. They exceeded my expectations. So that's why I was part of this grading is like how they performed relative to what you expected. And a lot of them did a lot better than what I expected. So overall, I gave a 7.8, a great season for Canucks and Canucks fans. And I think they definitely did the 50th season justice. Like it was very fun year to watch. And yeah, so that's it. Those are our grades. And so just before we wrap up here, we talked about Quinn Hughes and you mentioned how he's in the Calder race. Does he deserve the Calder?
He absolutely does deserve the Calder. Will he win it? I don't know. I think Cale Makar started off the season taking the lead, but as Makar got hurt and as people started to recognize, it's not just about points per game. It's about what do you do for the team? What kind of minutes do you play? How do you drive play? And then I think people really got on the Hughes bandwagon. But then Cale Makar did come back. Hughes slowed down a tiny bit. And Makar ended off with didn't he have a monster game of 3 or 4 points?
Yeah.
So It depends, you know, what people remember when they vote, what really sticks out to them. But he definitely deserves it. Will he win it? I think it's a 50-50 shot. You know, at the start of the season, I'd say he was the underdog. Middle of the season to 2/3 through, I'd say he was the favorite. And now I'd say he's back even with Makar.
Yeah, I agree. It's super close.
Yeah.
I think he deserves it as well, though. He was able to play the full season, which, he missed one game, I think, because of that Anaheim very small injury. But overall, played more than Makar did. Only missed one game. Hard to do for an undersized defenseman. So, yeah, I think great season. But that's a wrap on this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much, Clay, for coming on.
My pleasure, Dave. You're doing great work, man. Keep it up. Everyone, if you're not subscribed to this guy, make sure you subscribe to this guy's channel. He's doing some really, really good work.
Thank you. Yeah, and same thing for Clay. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. If you're watching my video, I have no clue how you're not already subscribed to him. But check out Clay Emo, Canuck Clay on Twitter. Subscribe to his YouTube. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope everyone stays safe and healthy. And go Canucks go.